The Port of Centralia Port Commission has gathered and we will begin our regular meeting for the Port of Centralia, September 17th, 2025. I will start the meeting. I will call the meeting to order and start with introductions. I'm Commissioner Kyle Markstrom.
Commissioner Peter Lomond.
I'm Commissioner Shirley Shapley.
Lead board staff.
First item on the agenda for today is, excuse me.
Pardon me.
I will start the meeting with approval of the agenda for today's meeting.
Move to approve the agenda of September 17th, 2025.
I second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, motion carries 3-0. Next item we have is executive session. I understand that.
We resolved the issue, Commissioner. You no longer have a need of executive session.
Okay. We will forego the executive session. Next item on the agenda for today is good of the order public comment. This time during the Port Commission meeting is for public comment. This portion of public comment is for non-agenda items. There will be time during the meeting to comment on specific agenda items. The Port Commission welcomes and encourages your comments and participation. However, public comment is not the time for the Commission to answer questions. If you have questions and would like a follow-up at a later time, please leave us your contact information. For those attending remotely or those who are unable to attend, please submit your written comments to agraber@portofcentralia.com before 2 p.m. the day of meetings. We are all lucky to live in a great community where we are passionate about making this a great place to live. While we might not always agree on how to achieve that, it is important we recognize we can all be passionate about our ideas while also respecting one another. You will have 3 minutes to complete your comments. When you reach your time limit, I will ask you to wrap up. Please stand at the podium when giving your comment. And if you have a specific records request, please see port staff so we can get you the information you require. First person we have signed in for public comment is Scott Tenner.
Ladies and gentlemen, Port Commissioners, Port Director, attorney for the Port. My name is Scott Douglas Tenner. I am a resident of Chehalis, and the reason I am here today is that this morning at 10:40, I got on the Port of Centralia's website and I accessed their master plan. I was told by a friend of mine that a current master plan was not in place. So I went and looked for myself, and I saw that the master plan was listed on the port's website for 2023. I got on your email contact and asked that you please provide me with a 2026 master plan. And so I'm here today to see if maybe I can get that when I leave here today. Thank you.
Thank you. The next person we have signed in for public comment is Norm Chapman.
So, Mr. Chair, mine has to do with a new business item, so I think that.
Okay, thank you. Next person we have signed in is Jan Banovich.
I understand you'll open it up later for business.
Yes, yeah, we will, for items we take action on.
Just want to make a couple of comments regarding Peter Abarno's interview with Director Kyle Heaton on the radio show. Let's talk about it recently.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh,
Can you state your name and residence?
Right, Dan Banovich, Centralia. At one point, Director Heaton said Port wants to redirect traffic away from the residential areas. However, the Port Centralia Station and area and Art Lehman Drive direct traffic directly through a residential area, actually even dividing it in half. And the Port doesn't seem to have any interest in how it affects the residents. I had talked to many people about how it's affecting myself and my neighbors as far as getting out of our driveways safely. And that's just with Winco there. And it's gonna just get worse. And at this point, we can't even get a traffic signal light at Alder and U. Make it somewhat better, maybe. Also, at the end, he made the comment that that I am not on Facebook. You won't find me on Facebook. I won't comment on people who are. After recently calling citizens idiots, I would think he would be more careful with his words and not wanting to offend people. Thank you.
Thank you. Next person we have signed in starts with a B.
I think it's me.
Brian.
I think I was right behind you.
Okay, yep, that's it.
Brian Dallas, Centralia citizen. I was disappointed to hear both Kyle, Commissioner Markstrom and Commissioner Shapley both against the moratorium that's being proposed, and then today, Executive Director Heaton also opposed to it. And I just think that if we're gonna work with the public, work with the entities surrounding the port, traffic studies, all kinds of stuff.
We're gonna. I'm sorry.
Is there,
No,
is
go
that a
ahead.
subject?
No, actually, go ahead. There's not gonna be an action on that, so go ahead. I apologize.
So I think myself that I was, the moratorium is not a bad idea for 6 months and let the public have some input. And, that's kind of been why I've been coming for 3 years, because I felt like the public's not having full input or any kind of answers given back to us, and so forth. So in this case, if a moratorium's there and there's some community forums regarding it, maybe some public members will have ideas, the state, the county. And I don't know, I don't hear any reports of collaboration between all the entities. Maybe there's been some, I'm sure there's been some, but I don't think quite enough, because I think we're seeing that bottleneck start. And it's only gonna get worse if we continue to go on the way we are without some remedies. Thank you.
Thank you. The next person we have signed in for public comment is Gary Odegaard.
As commissioners, director, and it can be Gary Odegaard, Centralia, former senator, so I've had some experiences. Peter Barnell's interview with your director this morning. I was later at a breakfast with a group of guys. One of them said he had listened to part of it, and he said, I wonder why Director Heaton can't be more personable sounding when he meets with people than he was on the radio. Says he's really good at the radio. Anyway, on the subject of the moratorium and traffic, Commissioner Shapley, when you were on the radio the other day with Chad Chaput, you said to improve the traffic, there'll be the Gallagher Road extension. But your director today said that's been cut. I don't know who cut it, but it was, whether it's money someplace or how that happened. That was the first I've heard of that. But so that kind of takes away that argument. And as Brian said, there should have been city, county, port getting together for several years now about traffic. And I know Edna has told me that she tried different times, couldn't get the port to cooperate. And I've heard that from the city too. Another problem with the traffic is if we did have a Gallagher North interchange, trucks are going to take the closest route. Now, a lot of those trucks will go north, south, not north, but still go by Safeway. Well, that traffic flow problem. Another problem with all the trucks are that the emissions towards Prairie School, with the kids up the playground, needs to be considered. Your director said, with the question by Peter Barnell, how can people learn more about the port? He said people can call in with questions. He said he gets very few questions called down to him. So I thought, why not then answer questions at your meetings, which we've been trying to get? I'd get some of those answers. And if he's willing to do it on the phone, why can't we just do it here a little bit, rather than have 10 minute meetings, have 30 or 45 minute meetings, it doesn't hurt anybody. So, let's, there. Thank you.
You. Well, thank you. Next person we have signed in is Cynthia Mudge.
Cynthia Mudge with the Centralia Chamber of Commerce, and I'm Chambers. Just a few things that are specific to Centralia. The first one is actually the whole county, and that's Toledo Tel is having their business after hours tomorrow. And it's also a customer appreciation day. That business is like 100+ years old and kind of near and dear to this county. They've just done a fabulous job. So, and they're planning a fun event. So if you want pizza and something to drink and something to do tomorrow night, I highly recommend attending that. The next thing coming here is a ribbon cutting for Rooted in Lewis County. They're in Chehalis. They have a new Chehalis office. They used to be Dignity, and they've kind of rebranded themselves, and they're repositioning themselves in the things they do. So that will be October 1st at 5 p.m. We are working on trick or treat transit again this year, and Halloween's on a Friday, so I'm expecting adults to be dressed up as well as the children. But the transit makes a loop from downtown Centralia through Chehalis and back again that evening, and it's a great way to enjoy trick or treating, a safe trick or treat. And then lastly, we are coordinating debates again on October 9th at O'Blarney's in downtown Centralia. It'll be a full plate of opponents. There'll be 7 different debates, and we will work to coordinate having an agenda out early so people can time when they want to come in and see who they want to see. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. That's everybody I have signed in. Is there anybody else in attendance today that would like to provide public comment? Before I close public comment, I do want to clarify, the only potential action item left on the agenda for today under new business 7B will be a real estate purchase and sale agreement, LPC Acquisition Company LLC. Agenda item 7C, City of Centralia Development Moratorium. There is no action item associated with that, and so we will not take public comment on that. So if you wish to provide public comment in regards to that, now is your time.
Thank you for the opportunity. My name is Norm Chapman. I'm a resident of the city of Centralia and happen to be on the city council, but I'm just representing myself and my thoughts. The moratorium is an interesting complex subject, and of course, constituents are inundating me with traffic concerns is the big one, and I come from a business world that when you have a problem, you roll up your sleeves and you fix it. And as adults, and I've got high respect for the Port of Centralia, for the city of Centralia, for the Economic Alliance of Lewis County, for the Sports Hub Complex, and for the Chamber of Commerce. And you would think as adults that people would put their egos aside or put whatever it is that's causing them to not sit around the table and fix the issue. As the city of Centralia, when you benefit from taxpayers and you receive taxpayers' funds, then we owe it to the city residents of Centralia to alleviate these kind of issues that pop up if we could just sit around the table and fix it as adults. Maybe I'm just too Pollyannish to think about, but I've been able to be involved when there's problems. You jump in, you analyze it, and you fix it. And so I frustrated with the fact that this has even come up to start with. And people that I talk to, and this person doesn't get along with this person and whatnot, it's like, goodness sakes, everybody, we're adults. And I encouraged port to take a lead to get everybody together. I'm still looking for the person with enough power that can get us all together in one room so that we could fix the issues for the residents of Centralia. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Is there anybody else in attendance today that would like to provide public comment?
Like, since I thought that, you were gonna have open it for comments on items, so can I do that now?
You may, go ahead. I think in the interest of fairness, you used approximately a minute and a half in your first comment. Would you be willing to stay within a minute and a half for this comment? So it's within the 3 minutes that everybody else received? Okay.
I can,
See how,
since I did plan it that way.
Yeah. Understand. Thank you.
I just wanted to say that I attended the city council meeting, when the emergency moratorium on building size was passed. And despite my criticisms of the port and opposition to more distribution centers, I spoke against the moratorium in support of the port's interests, because I felt that that was the right thing to do under the circumstances. I didn't think after all the work for a couple of years on this project that it should suddenly be taken away without notice. Commissioners Lamont and Markstrom, although given short notice, were able to attend. Unable to speak on behalf of the port, they expressed their personal views, stating that they were against the moratorium. However, I was quite surprised by the absence of the port's executive director, Kyle Heaton, at the city council meeting. Why didn't he show up to represent the port's interests and demonstrate a willingness to collaborate with all the parties involved? It's hard to believe that Executive Director Heaton, an employee entrusted by the commissioners to oversee all port operations, would not have been aware of the potential moratorium in advance, especially with the sale of the numerous port properties at stake. This was a highly important meeting. And I question why the September 3rd port meeting was canceled when the commissioners should have been advised by the director then of the potential moratorium and could have been prepared for the city council meeting. Recently, I was stunned to hear rumors that the port commissioners, including Lewis County Commissioner Sean Swope and others, claimed they were blindsided by the city's moratorium. I knew about the moratorium over a month ago. So how is it that so many elected officials were blindsided? Where was Executive Director Kyle Heaton's leadership? Wasn't it his responsibility to make sure everyone had that information well in advance of the city council meeting? Thank you.
You. Anybody else that would like to provide public comment? Please step to the podium.
Alan Picard, president of Centralia. I also wanted to speak to the developments of this moratorium. I did hear from you, Commissioner Markstrom, and Julie Sheffley, that you both were surprised by this action and that it came as a surprise. And I as well knew about this moratorium over a month ago. I have emails from the landowner, and he was reaching out to anyone and everyone to try to get support to stop the city from doing this development. And he had specifics. He communicated to me that it was a limit of anything over the size of 250,000. And so it seemed from my conversations with him that he had heard this from the city. And I cannot guarantee, but it does seem odd that this developer would be reaching out to me, Jan, to other citizens, neighbors to the project, desperate to find out how he can get help to stop this, and asking us to go to city council to try to speak to stop it, and how your executive director did not know that because he clearly didn't share that information with you. Thank you.
Anybody else in attendance today would like to provide public comment? Hearing none, I will close public comment. I want to make a couple of comments briefly. Mr. Tennant, the port master plan that is on the port's website is the most current and up-to-date master plan. The port is not required to update the master plan at yearly intervals. It is done as needed and when statutorily required. So the one that you saw on the website is the most up-to-date. Quickly, I just want to comment on this moratorium. The Port of Centralia was absolutely not given advance notice of this moratorium. If the city chose to share that information with somebody other than the port, prior to the meeting. That is very, very concerning to me. The port has been casted in the light of being the entity in this case that is not collaborating. I can very much say that we were absolutely blindsided by the official release of a moratorium on the city council's agenda. We received an email from the city manager.
Thursday prior,
Yeah, the day before the agenda came out was when we knew about it.
few hours before.
If the city chose to decide to share that information with other entities, again, that is extremely concerning to me. And I promise that is something I'm going to look into. So I appreciate those comments.
And she
Thank
said
you,
that,
Commissioner Martin.
I would like to say something too. It wasn't said, but I spoke against it too, and I was waiting. I had no prior knowledge. There was an email that was sent, and I missed that because it was in between meetings and I didn't look. I just saw that when I was looking for this meeting, but anyway, I want to apologize for not being on top of that.
I don't think there's any apology necessary.
I
think we
totally
all like-
disagree. I totally disagree with the moratorium.
Well,
And I want to thank Ms. Banovich for speaking on behalf of the board against the moratorium. So
we
thank
will,
you.
yeah,
I
we'll,
will also speak. I received an email or a text from the mayor concerning this the day before. And we had a very heated, lengthy discussion about this. I spoke of my dislike and also I was very insulted that the city feels that they know better than to do what with the port than the us three elected officials. I felt insulted that we were basically told that we did not have the best interest of the community in our decisions. And I did say this to the mayor and about a lot of other things that pertain to the moratorium. So I did not speak that night. we had a very lengthy conversation about the moratorium, and we respect each other's thoughts. We are still friends, but this is something that we disagree about very, very strongly.
Thank you.
we'll more on that shortly. Next item on the agenda is approval of the minutes for the August 20th, 2025 meeting.
I move to approve the minutes of the August 2025 regular meeting.
Yes, I'll have to do it because I
Oh,
wasn't
we're
here.
here. Okay, sorry. I will second. We have a motion, a second. Is there any further discussion?
No.
Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, oppose. Motion carries 2-0-1 abstain.
You have general fund warrants and vouchers 24523 through 24565, aggregate amount $127,608.68.
Move to approve warrants 24523 through 24565 for $127,608.68.
I second.
There is a motion and a second to approve warrants. Is there any further commission discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries 3-0. Executive Director report.
Just a few things for you today, commissioners. We are working on Sandra Avenue. As you're aware, the mobile park, we're in year 2 now. The residents out of there and helping them relocate. As a result of that, one of the spaces became available with a power meter. We are now able to feed the pump house from that power meter, which will allow us to disconnect power from the house. Neighbors have been complaining about the house. There's been some break-ins. They've cut our fence. They crawled underneath the house, cut hot wires, somehow survived. So with all that in mind, we've been working to get it buried and over there. So it would have been nice to, not expend it and, demolish it all at once when everything is empty, but this will, give the neighbors some ease there, so we did that demo out. So we have abated all the asbestos. We are now applying for demolition permits and going to bid. So we are waiting the fill and grade on Centralia Station at the project you approve next time. In the meantime, we are getting the easements done that we need to for the city. We have the utility easement done, working on the ingress egress now. Expect to have that wrapped up the next few days. We will have the preliminary budget for you next month, and also at your next meeting, we will have a update of the economic report that we've done in the past from Eco Northwest. They've been working on that for a few months, and there's some interesting points. We've got a final draft where a few typos in it we're cleaning up. Amy's done a tremendous job on that. So some quick bullets for you, and we'll go into this in more depth next time. The ports industrial parks are expected to support more than 1 billion in total economic output in the local economy. Our industrial parks directly employ 3,145 workers for a total labor income of 239 million and 691 million economic impact for the local economy where they spend their money at home. The unemployment gap between Washington State and Lewis County used to be 2 to 6% higher than the state average. Due to the ports industrial parks, that number has decreased significantly. And for the first time in 2025, we have achieved numbers below the state average. That's not the case last month or this month, but for a period of time, we're able to get under that. That's never been done before. So could be an anomaly in the economy. We know jobless claims are going up. We know that we're likely moving towards recession. But it was a good benchmark. The port and its tenants, the port's tenants, not the port, our tenants generate 27.3 annually in state and local taxes, including 1.6 million a year at the Centralia School District.
Sorry, 27.3 million in tax revenue? Is that what you said?
Annually.
Annually, okay.
Annually, yes. 1.6 million annually to the Centralia School District, 4 million to the city of Centralia. Just short of the school. The school gets 4 million a year to the school district, about 2.7 million a year to Riverside Fire Authority, and 4 million a year to Lewis County, both for road fund and for law and justice with that. But a much more detailed report along with graphs for you to take and chew on, and a lot of other work that was done there. So the next item that I have for you, that's all I have in my report. The next item I have for you, I'll have you put the back tab. Before you, the purchase and sale agreement between the Port of Centralia and Logistics Property Company, LLC, a Delaware corporation. The board held a public hearing on this proposed sale back in April of this year, taking testimony for and against. At that hearing, the board authorized staff and attorney to negotiate a purchase and sale agreement. Over the last 7 months or so, we have been hard at that. It has been a hard and spirited negotiation. I'd like to compliment our attorney, Josh Krebs, for all of his hard work on this, way above clear till midnight last night. And back at it again at 6 this morning, there's a lot to get wrapped and get right, and Josh has done a phenomenal job on that. So the basics of it is the port will sell to LPC approximately 37.77 acres initially at $5.25 per square foot. That will include there's a map on page 45 of your agreement. You referred to it when you reviewed. That refers to these portions here. The second portion of this, the LPC will retain a right of first opportunity on the yellow portions here, constituting approximately 40 acres, again at $5.25 a square foot. There is a mitigation agreement for the parcels 2017 through 20 on your map. And for the public, those are the parcels north of the Galvin Road Bridge and down in the floodplain. These parcels are not part of the purchase and sale agreement, and only in the fact that they have been granted a license to enhance wetlands, do whatever mitigation may be required of them. It's a wonderful spot to do mitigation. It's at their own expense. They have to indemnify you and obtain all necessary permits. With that, the other portion of this of considerable interest, evidently, the Gallagher Road extension. LPC will construct Gallagher Road at their expense. For the first section of that section will look, excuse me while I orientate, that first section will be approximately here and going between the former Roco parcel and the Port of Centralia's former Mo parcel. It will go right down the north line of the Mo parcel. So that street is being designed. It will be a private road retained by the Port of Centralia for the near future. There are no public funds being expended towards that. Yes, we very much lobbied for funds for that, very much so. No, there is no, please refer to the county's resolution. Please refer to the city's resolution. You will see that it is not on there. So we've taken care of it. They're going to jump in and build this first section. That means hopefully it will catapult Gallagher Road in the future, that a portion of it and so much private money has already gone in towards the match. It should move it way up the funding matrix and hopefully allow for something in the future. Now, I wouldn't expect a transportation budget next year or the year after. There will be a transportation budget rating most of the projects that are in it now. So what that looks like at the end of the year, we don't know. But with the gas tax as high as it is already and people feeling it, I don't know that there's any appetite at the state to take on an additional gas tax and a transportation package. So we're likely looking at something more localized, and that could be 0.09 funding, that could be LID bonds, that could be developer finance to a portion. We don't know. Those are all things to answer in the future and not part of this transaction. So with that, they have 1 year to close on the first portion of this, and we've given them 3 years on the ROFO parcels should they move forward. And then with those parcels, one of those parcels in particular has wetlands on it. We believe that that will take considerable time permit. If they work through these permits and do not close, they all become your property. Any studies they do become your property. Any work they do becomes your property. We have every confidence that LPC will close, move forward with this project. We were very fortunate to find LPC. It's been a long 3-year process of negotiation, getting this to the starting line. This is not the finish line. This is the starting line. And so with that, both myself, Josh Krebs had reviewed in detail the in-person sale agreements and would recommend your.
I move to approve the purchase and sale agreement between LPC Acquisition Company, LLC, and the Port of Centralia, and authorize the executive director to execute all documents necessary to complete the closing transaction.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there further commission discussion?
I just had a question. On the Gallagher Road extension, will they be extending the sewer up there and taking care of all that?
Excellent. I'm sorry, I should have said that all utilities.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you.
No further commission discussion. I just want to say I appreciate staff's hard work on this purchase and sale. I know it's been slog to get through it with this tenant, so I appreciate it. At this time, I will open it up for public comment on this specific agenda item. Are there any members of the public in attendance that would like to provide public comment on this agenda item? Hearing none, I will close public comment. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries 3-0. Next item on the agenda is City of Centralia Development Moratorium. This is not an action item, but an item for discussion for the Port Commission. But
So I want to clear up some misstatements. The port has not been in the loop on any moratorium before Thursday of last week, we all received the email at the identical time. There was no mention from staff, no mention from management, no management from an elected official to anyone at the port. There's been a lot of talking at the port, but not a lot of talking to the port. So in about July, the city released their new proposed regulations. In an email from the city manager, they detailed how they had copied those regulations from the city of Vancouver partially and from the city of Tumwater partially. We, as Ray can attest, dumped all of that on our planners and land use attorneys and started to, rather than updating a previous ordinance, as most municipalities typically do, they decided to start from scratch over on this. So that's required an extensive review on our part. I appreciate Ray and Andrew, our planner, getting that done on such short notice. We received it on right around the 1st of July. We provided comments back early August. We provided 7 pages of comments on these ordinances. And I think, you know, before we jump into that, I think you have to begin and look at what do Vancouver and Tumwater and Centralia have in common. Vancouver has a daytime population of 662,000. They have a metropolitan population of 2.5 million, including the Portland metro area. They have a 44 square mile landmass inside their incorporated limits. Tumwater has about 17 and a half square miles inside their corporate limits. They have a daytime population that is way above this, but their census population is 28,000. But when teamed with the metropolitan area, which is how Olympic Region looks at all of their projects, teamed together, Ole, Lacey, and Tumwater together are 137,000 people. When you get to Centralia, you have a population of 19,000. If you go ahead and lump Chehalis in, which is reasonable, that gets you to 26,000. We have a land mass of about 7.62 miles. Included in your packet is the staff report 9823 from the city of Vancouver, from the Eric Holmes, the city manager, to the mayor and council. I know that Commissioner Markstrom referenced this in his testimony the other night. And the portion, you have to look at legislative intent and why did Vancouver adopt this? Vancouver sits right next to the Portland metro area and is a very attractive spot for fulfillment centers. We need to understand the difference between fulfillment centers and distribution centers. Fulfillment centers are typically smaller, around 200,000 square feet. They typically won't locate in a municipality of under 100,000 because there's just not enough people to fulfill. This is the guy, when you make your Amazon order, this is the guy that's running it out. So the city of Vancouver, quite rightly, was concerned about all of these. And Amazon has their own fleet of trucks now, plus you've got the UPS trucks and FedEx. So it's all courier trucks, plus third-party ones that are unnamed half the time running around. So they are a traffic problem. But what the difference between them and a distribution center is, the distribution center doesn't send courier trucks out. This is large shipments between in-using supply stores, or they take from the distribution center to the fulfillment center. But LPC is not looking at fulfillment centers here. The port has never entertained one for these very reasons. One, even if we did, we couldn't get it. We don't have the population to drive one. So that's important to know. What was the intent? What was it they were concerned about? Fulfillment centers. They also, what's important to know, key points in this is that they modified, and the second bullet there, you'll see exempt warehouses proposed by the Port of Vancouver on port property from a moratorium. Third, exempt warehouses that will exclusively supply storage intended for the traded sector. That in itself is what? A distribution center. So Vancouver was addressing a very real threat at the time. You figure 23, right after COVID, Amazon was really ramping up hard. That's why they adopted this. It's a bad form to be used here. We don't have the population or the same concerns. That being said, we have provided on August 19th, over 7 pages of those changes that could make this somewhat better. I could go into the full ordinance and the massive problems in it, not only for the port, but for any investor looking here. This is a deterrent. So we want to work with the city. We want to get a better ordinance. We've been trying to do that since July. We thought we were working towards that and towards their comprehensive plan adoption, which their staff shared with us. Get your comments in before the end of August as we move into this. We achieved that. We did that. The moratorium followed that. That's what I have.
I appreciate staff's background, both on the comprehensive plan and the moratorium. I am so troubled and frustrated by this, by the confusion it's created in the community. You know, there was a lot of comment earlier about collaboration, and while the level of collaboration at our local government level has never been to my satisfaction, I can attest, or I can say that I have worked very hard at that. I know I've coordinated meetings here at the port office with city staff, with port staff, with county staff, electeds, to discuss not only this project, but other projects, legislative funding. So the assertion that the lack of communication lies on the shoulders of the Port of Centralia is not correct. There could, like I said, there could certainly be a higher level of collaboration, but to get dropped this moratorium and only receive 24 hours notice before city council was going to not only vote on it, but use an emergency order to pass it in one meeting, speaks volumes to the lack of collaboration between the city of Centralia and the port. I am hopeful that there's a path forward to sorting this out. But I think it's going to take the city of Centralia recognizing their lack of ownership over their role in where we are today. The Port of Centralia does not decide zoning. The zoning in the community, in every community, is decided by the city. The city zoned the properties that we're talking about for industrial. Correct me if I'm wrong, 20 years ago? Okay. The port did not make that determination. The city's planning department, they are the ones that decide how and where development will happen within a city. The port then works within those guidelines to try to bring economic development to the city. So for 20 years, this land has sat undeveloped, but zoned for this very specific use. You would think that the city would recognize that their development partner would work towards that goal that was set by the city through zoning. The city is responsible for the development of infrastructure in the community. The port does not have jurisdiction to go widen Harrison or to build another interchange. We can certainly lobby for it, and we have spent considerable time at the Capitol to bring funding to this community for infrastructure. I went to the Capitol 3 times this year for that specific purpose, along with representatives from the city and the county. And then when the money was allocated to the projects that we had all agreed on, the county and the city met without the port, moved that funding to projects that did not benefit economic development, and left the port away from the table. So the assertion that the port is the entity that is not communicating is incorrect. And I take exception with that. I think it could always be better. Our communication is not perfect, but certainly the blame does not all lie with the port. And until the city can recognize their role in zoning property 20 years ago for a specific use, and then not building any of the infrastructure to support that zoning, I don't see how we're going to get through this. I think they need to sit down and have a long discussion with their staff and electeds and recognize their lack of planning in building the infrastructure to support the zoning that they created in the community that they wanted to build, not the port. I think that's my comments on the moratorium.
I agree with you. Thank you very much. Yes, I feel that we have been doing our duty. Our duty is to do economic development. And we have diversified. We have done a very good job. Where TransAlta, the community relied heavily on TransAlta for a tax base. When TransAlta quit, when they unfortunately had to go away, the port substituted. We were the ones that grew the tax base. And as Executive Director Heaton said, 20% of the taxes are paid by the port, the tenants in the port. And we have done a very, very good job of, like I said, diversifying all the different businesses, industries, providing jobs, providing good jobs. And this, to me, was very insulting. And especially having the emergency part of it. Everything that is permitted would be fine, would be exempt. And I don't see any need for the emergency moratorium because nobody's going to get a permit in 30 days. So I feel that it was rather heavy-handed. And yes, I have looked out to other entities when the money was not allocated to some of the projects in the port. I did talk to the commissioners, the county commissioners, and I was told that we could put in a request for money. And I said, so we can beg for the money that we helped get from the legislature. And city.
That was designated for industrial traffic management.
Exactly. And we've been told, I was told, you can put in a bid or a proposal for it. And that to me, is that collaboration? No, I don't feel it is. So this, again, the moratorium, I was told the night before, and I did hear about it when Emil was talking about the comprehensive plan. That was the first time that he said that there might be restrictions. And it's not just restrictions on 250 and more. The reading into the moratorium, anything over 100,000 square feet, there is a long list of criteria down to the point of asking if the company that wants to build 250,000, if they think they may be automated in the future, or what's their inventory control system? I'm sorry, that's nobody's business. That is not the city's business to know my inventory control. That is, and I feel that's heavy-handed. And so there were tremendous restrictions for any building from 100,000 to 250,000. And I just feel that this is this going to make it easier to collaborate? I hope that it does bring a bridge, but there has to be some respect between all of us. And also not for the port to be the scapegoat. When we're bringing in the jobs, we're bringing in the tax base, and we're the ones that get stuck with a moratorium, which sends a loud and clear message to developers. You're not really welcome here.
Well, it's not just the moratorium in this respect. It's that the city will at any time invoke the power of a moratorium on anything they don't like. What happens when a business, in a different sector wants, I mean, you know, that is now hanging over everybody's head that they're willing to wield that sledgehammer.
And there was also talk about, how does the port, vet some of the businesses that want to come here? There are a lot of businesses that want a piece of the action here. They want to come here. This is a great location. And I have to hand it to Executive Director Heaton. He vets every one of those requests. He vets the company. What does their financials look like? How do they treat their employees? All of these things. How are they environmentally? If they're not a good fit to Centralia, they're not invited in. So, yes.
Just really quick, Executive Director Heaton. In your how many years have you been here? 25 years, 24 years?
Yeah, 25.
Rough estimate. How many businesses have you turned away? Won't hold you to it. This isn't a on the record number that we're gonna go, you know.
Turned away every petrochemical company because we can't do anything that involves chemicals. We are too critical of an aquifer out here if there were a spill. We can't do anything with petroleum. The closest thing that we've been able to do has been DEF, which is diesel exhaust fluid, and even that was hard to get permitted. I hear the cat calls for manufacturing, and we'll address that in our economic study. But people always wish for what they don't have. The grass is always greener. The emissions that come off of some of these things, no, we don't. If you've got heavy emissions, we're not interested. If you're the EDC brought us a wood treater. Every wood treater that's ever located created a carcinogenic Superbund site when they were done. No, we're not interested. We don't like carcinogens. We tend to, we don't look at cross-dock facilities because they're all trucks. We don't look at transload facilities any longer. We don't look at yard facilities any longer. Our real estate's too expensive to waste on yard these days. So we've evolved, but we turn away a lot, but we don't make public statements when we turn somebody away.
That's the point, that's the point I'm getting at. And that's the point I want the public to understand is, there's many businesses that approach the port that don't ever come to the Port Commission because it's not worth even considering. So, while we get the credit for the businesses we bring to the community, we don't get any credit for the businesses we don't bring to the community, businesses that wouldn't benefit this community. I know in my time here, I've heard of lots of things. So, I think, it's important to, recognize the track record that the port has. And I understand that, there's frustrations with a growing community. And I hear the comments about traffic. At the risk of pissing a lot of people off, I'll say that I feel like a lot of it's anecdotal. Why the city didn't come up with traffic data in this moratorium. I mean, if the traffic is so bad, why isn't there a study that they can cite that shows that the port is the major contributor? I'm not saying the port doesn't contribute to traffic. It absolutely does. I live 500 yards from here. I live right by the port. I work in this city. My daughter goes to daycare in this city. I go to sporting events for my nephews in this city. I spend 95% of my time in this community. And yes, traffic is not what it was when I grew up here in the early 90s and 2000s. It's not. But I take a lot of pride in the jobs that the port has been able to provide and the tax base we've been able to generate. And I do have a lot of sympathy for folks who are in very specific places who come and speak about traffic that impacts them specifically. And I wish we had a magic button that could fix all of those issues. But I do feel like we are moving in a direction that is beneficial for this community, both providing jobs and tax base and benefit overall for the community. The growth is hard. It's tough. Growth does not come without significant impacts to certain people. And I recognize that. But I think it's important to recognize the port's role in the tax base we've brought to this community. When TransAlta left this community, I actually, it was a short time in my adult life, I didn't live here. And it made me question whether or not I'd ever be able to move back here, because I didn't know what that meant for this community to not have TransAlta here. And I haven't crunched the numbers recently, but I know in years past that port tenants have accounted for nearly 20% of all the tax base in Centralia. I mean, there is no other community in Western Washington where a port accounts for 20% of the assessed value of one town. There's not. And so, like I said, we get a lot of credit for the issues that come with the growth, but no credit for the things that we don't do and the tenants we do turn away, and the type of businesses that would bring things here that wouldn't benefit the community as a whole. So, yeah, sorry, I ranted again.
No, you're good.
Commissioner Lamont, anything you'd like to add?
I don't really. My whole purpose of being here, we're in the property sales business, but we want to be responsible. And so we do look at the companies that are coming. You know, my goal is every piece of property the port owns is sold and in play and making money for the constituents. So this company, the company that we just approved today, I went up and looked at their property up there in Pierce County, and they've done some really nice development up there. So I don't have any problem with them. The main thing that we have to look for is infrastructure upgrade. And that's not all the port, it's not necessarily all the city. We just have to get that set down and see what we're gonna do to make that work. You know, water and sewer and cable and power and, you know, all the infrastructure items. We need to make sure that we upgrade. I was talking with it's not the county engineer, the public works director yesterday. And they're even talking about double laning Harrison Avenue going out. I'm not sure how they're gonna do that, because I think too many homes are built too close to the right of way. So, but anyway, that's one of the things on their table. That's it for me.
Commissioner, if I could add just a couple of things. One, I want to point to that the port is not just port staff that's discerning. The Port Commission has taken action when they've needed to prevent bad actors from moving into the port. There was a property that Simpson Dora had owned. They had it for sale. The port, every piece of property, including this transaction you just did, the port maintains a right of first refusal on if they were ever to sell it or abandon it.
Which means if they try to bring somebody in that we don't feel is good for the community, we have a shot at.
You have the ability to step up and do it, and which is what the Port Commission did. There was a fireworks manufacturer that wanted to come in, and, you know, we have propane across the tracks. We have, you know, an active rail yard next door. There's all opportunity for sparks. So we stepped in and blocked it. There were very little jobs and a whole lot of risk. And it located up to Little Rock and exploded 2 years later. So there are, you know, we don't do sin in here, and we don't do explosives and that type of stuff. And the Port Commission stepped up to block that when they can. The other piece that I heard an inordinate amount of bashing on UNFI. And I got to tell you, it is extremely disheartening as the executive director of the Port of Centralia, when an employer comes in here, creates over $300 million in assessed value. It is floating your city light department every month with the B&O tax that comes off of those cold storages. It's true. What the city manager said is true. They are having to bring in automation because they can't fill the jobs. We have 800 jobs that need to be filled over there, and they can't do it. They've relaxed their drug tests. They've done everything as an employer they can. They're paying more than the manufacturers, as you know, $28 an hour to start.
Yeah.
And they're still struggling. And it's not just them, and it's not just Centralia. It's up and down the corridor and all over. We're all struggling to find employees, and that's why you're seeing automation creep into this place.
I want to add to the UNFI comment that you do bring up a good point. many of you know, I previously worked for a manufacturing company here in the community. We were one of the largest manufacturing companies in the community or in the area. They've since downsized quite a bit, but, when I was running that facility when UNFI was built, and the impact that UNFI had on our wages was unbelievable. We're a full CNC manufacturing company. You know, we had skilled machinists, we had, entry level people, and, at the time, we were bringing in, young men out of high school that wanted to learn about machining and building and, making components and running CNC machines, and we would bring them in at $18 an hour and train them up and teach them how to be machinists. And the minute that UNFI opened, they were paying $22 an hour. And all of our wages went up accordingly. And it doesn't just start at the bottom. You can't just, okay, well, now we have to start at 22 because they are. No, well, now your guys that were making 22 and 24 and 26 and 28, you got to give all those guys raises. So the impact that a company like UNFI had on this community that people don't talk about is a rising tide lifts all boats. And that very, very much, I can speak from firsthand experience. They had that impact on this community. And again, the comments about automation, it's that comment, I suspect, was made based on permitting information that the city had on UNFI. When you bring in new equipment like that, you have to get permits. And there was never an attempt by the city to reach out to UNFI and ask them the impact that automation had on their hiring or their job base. They still employ, I think, 800 people.
6 is what they've been able to get up to.
Yeah, I mean, they're always hiring. They're never not hiring. And like Executive Director Heaton said, that the automation that was done there isn't an attempt to downsize their workforce. It's to supplement what they do because they can't hire enough people to run their entire operation. And then the other point that I think is glossed over significantly, and I do want to go into depth on this a little bit so people understand. The city of Centralia has two major funding components to their general fund. And they are about neck and neck every year. And those two funding sources are sales tax and the B&O tax on the utilities within the city of Centralia. So all of us users in Centralia, if we look at our power and bills and water bills, we see that we pay a B&O tax that goes to the city. So those are the two major funding sources, and like I said, they're within $100,000 or $200,000 of each other usually, that fund the general fund for the city. That's all operations for the city. UNFI is far and away the largest utility user for the city of Centralia. I don't know the specific numbers. I've kind of always thought it really wasn't my business because it's, UNFI, I feel is doing a good thing. So I've never felt the need to really dive into that. I think maybe somebody should and find out just exactly how much they are contributing to the city's general fund just through B&O tax on the utilities. So to me, again, it's just to use them as the example of like they're trying to use them as an example of what we don't want in this community. And again, I get the traffic, I get it, but there's never a time when I drive down Harrison in the middle of the day during normal business hours that there's an inordinate amount of UNFI trucks. I mean, is there 2 or 3 or 4 in a run? Maybe. Does it slow things down for a few minutes? Yeah, it probably does. Does school traffic at 3:30 really make a huge impact? Absolutely it does. I encourage people to go sit out in front of any of our elementary schools. We have Ford's Prairie right up here. When I was a kid, we rode our bike or we rode the bus, right? Our parents were working, they couldn't give us a ride. If we got a ride to school in mom or dad's car, it was hallelujah, a miracle. And nowadays, if you go sit in front of that school at 3:30 or at 8 o'clock in the morning, there's 100+ cars in the queue. It's unbelievable how many people are driving their kids to and from school. Now, are we going to require all kids to ride the school bus? No, absolutely. I mean, people have that autonomy, right? But as a community, we need to figure out how to work that all together. I think that's really important, but to constantly point the finger at one company and overlook all of the positive things they've brought to a community is, I mean, it's kind of disgusting, really.
As Julie knows, we could bring in the head of the Food Bank Coalition. They'd be happy to speak about the impact Unifi's had on our community.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, I didn't get into the other, community impacts. I mean, garbage pickup, they pay their crew to go out and pick up garbage and refuse in the area on a regular basis. They've sponsored food banks and they've donated countless food items to different causes. I mean, that's just, that stuff's just above and beyond, right? That's not what's expected. That's what they choose to do. But of the things that are expected of them, I mean, we wouldn't have a United Learning Center being built in downtown Centralia if it wasn't for UNFI. The excise tax from the sale of that property after construction was finished is what's funded the Early Learning Center. So to use them as the example for this moratorium is, it's disgusting, honestly. I'm sorry, I apologize. I apologize. We're closed for a couple public comment. Sir, I'm gonna have to ask you, please. We're not taking public comment at this time. Please, we're not taking public comment at this time.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, I have belabored that a lot. I appreciate everybody's patience with me. Any other comments?
I just want to thank LPC for wanting to invest in our community. I also have gone up to Pierce County to see their buildings. It's beautiful. And I also appreciate that they want to, with their own money, to extend Gallagher Road. I just am very, very thankful for LPC for wanting to invest and be a good community partner. Please pass on that. Thank you.
Likewise, thank you.
Yeah, Frederickson's a beautiful development up there.
Yeah, it's a masterpiece.
Yes.
Okay, we will move into commissioner reports. Have we all reported enough? Thanks. All right, we won't keep you any longer. We appreciate everybody's time today.
I move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
All right.
We are adjourned. Thanks for tuning in, everybody.